between the Texans and the Cowboys. Number two.
You want to recap?
Number two. Do we have time to recap? Okay, sure.
Recap. Number 5 for me is which quarterback will lead his team to a victory. I'm gonna say Tony Romo now. I don't know why I'm saying it. Number 4, how will Doug Free handle Williams, Mario Williams, that is, the defensive end. And number 3, can Dallas rush the football better? 39th is the highest. Josh Freeman has rushed for more than the running backs.
That's embarrassing.
That's all I'm gonna say. There it is.
Please forward that to the sports buffet. That's a stat that can't go nowhere. Number 5 for me, can the Texans execute as front runners? They're favored. They're 2-0. They beat the Colts for just the second time ever, etc. Okay, we've already been there. How is Andre Johnson's ankle? I do think that's a big, big deal. I wouldn't be surprised to see them shut him down at practices. He'll probably have a boot on. No reason to practice him. He kind of knows what to do. Number 3, can relatively unknown Matt Schaub outplay overhyped quarterback Tony Romo? Right now, Schaub performing at about a 20-point better QB rating. However you figure out the QB rating, Matt Schaub is dominant right now over Tony Romo, and we'll see. Romo makes the money. Romo gets all the hype. Romo gets the girls. Matt Schaub has 2 wins. So we'll see how that plays out. Number 2?
Number 2 for me will be, who will win the coaching battle? You have 2 coaches here that I think are both on the hot seat.
Wow.
And I have to talk about it because I think it'll go a long way in determining who has the better game plan, John. In addition to that, at some point, they're going to have to exercise their right as the head coach. You know, what do you do? Does Wade Phillips make another silly mistake like he made in the Washington game by being on the headset making a defensive adjustment when they were about to go into halftime? Does Gary Kubiak make the right adjustment and put the right players in place if Andre Johnson's ankle, as you mentioned, is not healthy? How do they find other ways to get their guys the ball? And last but not least, will they get their teams prepared? This is a big game, not only for the Dallas Cowboys, of course, but also for the Houston Texans. It's more so about them trying to gain some leverage in the state of Texas as saying, we are the best team in football, and that preseason game was not a fluke. So number 2 for me, John, is Wade Phillips, Gary Kubiak. The pressure's on both of them. Gary Kubiak, if he doesn't win this year and put his team in the playoffs, I think he's done. And I think if Wade Phillips doesn't turn it around here soon, we might see him on the chop block as well.
Yeah, well, Wade Phillips is part of number 2 for me, basically because he's the defensive guy. But can the Cowboys get to quarterback Matt Schaub? You know, Bears quarterback Jay Cutler attempted 29 passes on Sunday, but the Cowboys defense officially sacked him just 1 time. Matt Schaub has attempted 69 passes through the first 2 games, so if you figure he stays on that average and airs it out 35 times this Sunday, how many times can DeMarcus Ware and company drag him to the ground? If a Cowboys turnaround is going to happen, much like the Giants turnaround referenced above in my blog, it's going to happen because of that Cowboys defense. And I'll point this out now. As Lloyd well knows, the 2007 New York Giants, they started the year 0-2, gave up 80 points in losses to the Cowboys and the Packers. That's 40 a game. That defense stepped up. They turned it around. They went 10-4 the rest of the way. They won 4 playoff games, and they were crowned champions of Super Bowl 42. In those playoff games, they allowed 14, 17, 20, and 14. This Cowboys defense can be the reason they turn things around. I want to see. That's number 2 on my list. Can the Cowboys get to Matt Schaub? Number 1?
Number 1 for me, can Dallas defense dominate?
That's what
I do need to know this because I think if the Cowboys have any chance of righting this ship, John, I don't think it's going to come on the offense right now. This is something that has happened the last 7 weeks. Pardon me. 5 preseason games, first 2 weeks of the season. The offense has sputtered. And so I think if the Dallas Cowboys have any shot of recovering and getting back to where they can win the NFC East and find themselves in the playoff hunt, it's got to start with this defense where I think they have the best chances. So when you start talking about players, I know Mike Jenkins is injured. Can they come back? Will Orlando Scandrick be a guy that can step up into that lineup? What do they do with Alan Ball? Do they now move him back to corner? The Dallas Cowboys only had 3 cornerbacks on their roster. Now, they were using, of course, the rookie Antu Wasa, whatever. Yeah. Unless I'm looking at it, I don't know what it is. That guy, who's also, playing on some special teams, they think that he can play corner as well as Alan Ball. I just think it's a lot to ask a professional who hasn't gotten a lot of reps at corner to go play cornerback. I mean, there are plenty of cornerback options out there that you can go out there and get. For instance, Brian McCann, they went and picked back up, put him on, of course, the practice squad. Find a way to get that guy active. I saw one practice while I was covering the Cowboys. He had 3 picks in one day. Do something. Make sure that you're prepared. But can the Dallas defense dominate? Because if they don't, Cowboys have no shot of winning this game, and they will not be in it down the stretch, and the Houston Texans will embarrass them in Houston.
Number one for me, can Tony Romo and the Cowboys offense get healthy? Now, there's a reason why I'm going this route. Statistically speaking, through 2 games, the worst defense in the NFL is the Washington Redskins. The second worst is the Houston Texans. That's good to know. If Jason Garrett, Tony Romo, 3 good running backs, an all-pro tight end, 2 big, tall wide receivers, and a potential rookie of the year can't get into the end zone more consistently against the number 31 defense in the NFL, then what's missing?